First of all, I don't really ever want to do another LeRoy and Lewis. Me and Aaron, we're supposed to cook a whole cow on direct heat, like on a cinder block pit, and they delivered it to us, and it was in quarters, and it was frozen. And then a thunderstorm blew in with like lightning and tornadoes.
Here you are at the top of your game with the Michelin star, and there's still doubts in your head about whether or not we can make it through the end of the lease.
What happens if you lose the star?
If we lost the star...
Welcome, everyone, to the Smokeless Podcast. I'm Wayne with Louis Miller Barbecue. My two partners in crime, Nick from Stanley's Famous and Justin from Pecan Lodge.
Hey, y'all.
Fellas, how you doing?
Hey, good, brother.
You know, we got a really special guest today in Evan LeRoy of LeRoy and Lewis in Austin.
Been wanting to talk to this dude for a minute.
You know, I mean, talk about, he's one of those guys that actually spans the boundary between chefs and pitmasters, right?
Yeah.
He made that transition, and not only did he make it where 99% don't, he is just excelled. He is just a rare breed. So if you will, welcome with me, Evan LeRoy. Evan, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
What a rogues gallery we have here. This is awesome.
How are you surviving? I mean, there's so much to talk about, but just right off the bat, man, could you have ever imagined what happened? Just
no,
Michelin coming and saying, yes, you're our man.
Yeah, it's still kind of crazy, man. You know, I still really have trouble believing it and kind of, you know, dealing with everything, all the fallout, day to day. You know, we're busy, sometimes in a very difficult way. But you know, we're always very thankful, for the good problems. So it's been awesome. It's been amazing. It's opened up a lot of doors for us, and our staff has just lifted and elevated and just become, you know, that restaurant that, we want to be. So we're very proud, and, we're just excited to serve all the people that come every day.
Congrats.
Yeah, congrats to you, man.
Thank you.
But you have had a very interesting journey to get to where you are. Do you know who Ara Malikian is from?
Oh yeah, of course.
I liken you two guys to be Harlem Road, yes, in a very unique category amongst all of us, you know, people who play with fire. You truly are two chefs who made a jump into doing this live fire, heavy protein sort of idea concept, and have been very successful in doing so. Because, you know, most French trained chefs just can't make that leap. But you guys have. And I bow to both of you because I feel like I know about this much when I'm with you guys. How did that start for you? When did you know I'm going to be in food and then I'm going to be in barbecue?
I think I knew I was going to be in food pretty early on, just because I was just like obsessed with the Food Network. Growing up, I would just like watch a ton of Good Eats with Alden Brown and Bobby Flay and all these guys cooking, and it was so interesting to me. It was just opened up a whole new world that I didn't know about, a whole bunch of different cultures. Like I grew up here in Austin, and it was still mostly just Tex-Mex at that point. There wasn't really a lot of good food around. There wasn't even really good barbecue in town. And then when it was time to go to college, I went to Florida State, and then I started kind of cooking for my roommates there, and then got a job at a restaurant just because I needed some beer money. And I ended up really liking it. I kind of liked the vibe and the workflow, and I had a bunch of friends working at the same restaurant as me. So it was a lot of fun. And then when it was time to go get a job after I graduated, it was 2008, and there weren't really a lot of jobs around for, you know, people with an English degree, except for like teaching or something. And I could not be in charge of any children other than my own. So I decided to keep going in restaurants. I kind of took a little trip back to Austin to go to culinary school, and I moved to New York City with my then girlfriend and now wife, Lindsay. And I just kept plugging away at different restaurants, and I baked bread, I made sushi, and then kind of discovered myself getting pretty homesick. And I was going to Hill Country Barbecue a lot because that was just it felt like home. They played country music. They served Bluebell ice cream. It smelled like Texas. They served, you know, brisket and ribs. And I got a job there. And then I very quickly, you know, became a pit cook, and then got promoted to pitmaster there. And then I kind of came back home after we got tired of the cold in the big city, and I started working at a restaurant called Friedman's, where I was the chef and pitmaster there. We brought in just a great team of people: Christopher McGee from Briskets, Joel Garcia and Jesse, his brother, from Teddy's and Weslaco, and Lane and Jalen, who went on to open Goldie's, and Brad, who has Chud's Barbecue. So we had a pretty awesome team there. And I was at the same time that I met my business partners, Nathan and Sawyer Lewis. And so me and Lindsay and Nathan and Sawyer decided it was time to open up our own truck. I think you guys know most of it from there, but that was 7 years ago. And, people ask me all the time, do you guys miss the truck at all? And the direct answer to that is no. No, I do not miss being in a food truck at all.
That must have been brutal.
Yeah,
what about
you guys know it? Hot summers, cold winters, yeah.
Well, apparently the kitchen at Friedman's was quite small as well.
Yeah, it wasn't a kitchen. First of all, it was a room with a warmer and a big electric oven in it. And it got really hot, as you can imagine. There was not really a kitchen. We did so much of our cooking outside on this big crawfish pot. Every time we had to make barbecue sauce or potato salad or anything in big batch, we would have to fire up that propane burner. It was like working in a food truck. It prepared me for years in a food truck for sure.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Kinda, just seeing barbecue as something else. But
y'all were in the food truck for almost 7 years? Is that right?
That's right, 7 years. A little bit more than 7 years. We closed the summer after we opened the restaurant. We thought that we could kind of operate both of them, but that was not going to work out. We were just too busy with the new restaurant, and then food trucks are just hard. You got to work twice as hard to make half as much. And we just decided it wasn't worth it anymore.
But that truck never moved. Like it was stationary, right?
Yes. It was stationary. We moved it a very small handful of times in the very beginning, just to other events. We were doing every single event we could in the beginning, to just try to get the word out. And then, eventually when we realized how difficult it was to move after the truck died on me a few times in the middle of the road, then we decided.
I was going to say that's the whole other part of the difficulty of a food truck is keeping the thing actually running. Not only are you trying to run a business inside of a really tight confined space, the thing could literally just die and not go anywhere.
Yeah, we had to jump it. We had to, I still remember trying to start it multiple times and trying to give it the gas, and then the shifter was broken, so you kind of had to choke around the steering column to shift the truck. It was bad by the end, but we sold it to this other guy who is up in Round Rock, Smoky Buns. He's been doing some barbecue out of there, so go check him out.
How was it those first few years? Did it grow at a pace that you felt pretty comfortable with the momentum and stuff like that, or was there ever a point where you're like, man, I don't know, and we've been kind of slugging away at it, we're not there yet, or what was that experience like for you?
I think we were pretty happy with the progress initially. After the first year, that first year was so brutal because we're just trying to get the word out, and Cosmic wasn't open. That coffee shop wasn't open, so we were just in an empty lot. There was no good bathroom. There was no shade. There was no drinks. There was nothing to keep people there. I built a picnic table to put out there that eventually collapsed. And then once Cosmic opened, that really changed the trajectory for us. And then we were going really, really well and excited to open a restaurant right at the end of 2019. And then you guys know what happens after that, COVID. So that put a big kind of pause on what we were doing. That was actually the first time I felt lucky to be in a food truck because we were watching everybody else's dining rooms close. And, we were very, very lucky that our partners at Cosmic were able to help us out with rent, and they were able to open up in May of that year. So we were only really kind of contactless service drive-through for a couple months, and then we were pretty much back to business. But it was still a really difficult time, and I'm glad that we didn't end up going to the location that we had right when COVID started, because it would have been on Burnett. It was that old Bonhomie space where Philip Spear was. And I don't think it's as good as the place that we have now right here in the heart of South Austin. So everything happens for a reason, and we're just thankful that we finally got it to the place we wanted.
Everyone's frozen.
No. So Evan, when you and I met, I want to say you weren't very long at Freeman's, but we were running into each other all the time at different festivals, and then South by. We seem to be just stepping all over each other. One of the things I remember about you and South by, and it's when I knew there was something special about you. I think it was General Motors. Who was it that, or GE, might have sponsored that giant 25-foot tower thing? You remember that? You know what I'm talking about? That was the craziest damn thing I'd ever seen. And it's like, who's doing what? You had to get on like a ladder to get shit and stuff. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. You're remembering that exactly correctly. So all of the, I'm sure, tenured doctorate, master's degreed engineers at GE got together with these builders in San Francisco, of all places, to build a barbecue pit. And it was cylindrical, but like vertical. And the firebox on the bottom was huge. This thing is built out of the thinnest metal you can imagine. There were like little kind of pipes that went from the firebox to the cooking chamber to diffuse kind of the direct like flame. And then there were racks that were above that. And for the first event, they were kind of like, a couple hundred people. And that's the first time I cooked on a pit that had a different kind of heat flow, like airflow. I was always used to offsets or rotisserie. And so this was like bottom up, and I had to figure out a lot of things very quickly. The food coming off of it was terrible to begin with. And then like once you loaded it down, there was no airflow from the bottom to the top. So there was also all these sensors on there that broke as soon as you put a fire into it for the first time, like the heat sensors, the airflow sensors, the humidity sensors. It's supposed to like read out on this big screen and give you like real-time data. And if it actually worked, it would have been really cool. That's the kind of stuff that, all those like leave-in thermometers are doing well now. But this thing was, they tried really hard and they spent a lot of money on it. And then after they, got me on the hook for the South by Southwest thing, they took that pit out on the road as a like a recruiting tool for college campuses. So we went to, I think we did a game at UT. We went to University of Michigan. We went to a few other places. We did the Super Bowl in Houston with that pit. And each time they were like, more people. And there was just no way we could like cook more food on that thing.
What did they have you cooking on it though? Like, were you cooking barbecue or like?
Yeah, brisket, pork butt. They wanted to do ribs, but I'm like, there's no way I'm putting ribs on that. They're not going to serve any people. Eventually, I was like, all right, here's what's happening. We're doing one load of briskets. We're chopping them all up, and then we're just running sausage like over and over again because we couldn't do anything else with it.
The very first pit I cooked on, and it was kind of similar. I worked for a consulting company and traveled around a lot. And when I moved back to Texas, one of the first, it was like, okay, I'm homesick. I want to get back into like all the things that I loved about Texas. And I inherited this pit. There was a propane burner at the bottom, and then it was just vertical straight up from there. And I don't know how many times I set that thing on fire until I figured out like, okay, you've got to drain the reservoir. You've got to do this. You got to do that. And I don't even know what people cook on that, but it was brutal. It was very difficult to cook on something like that.
Yeah, that other pit, that GE pit, not to mention, obviously was bad at cooking barbecue, but like Wayne was saying that you had to access it with a ladder. Like this thing, the firebox was as tall as a person. And they had this little like wheelie staircase to wheel up next to it. And you couldn't even get that close to it and it opened like this. It opened on the side. So you had to like undo latches. I had to like hold on with one hand and one foot and reach all the way in. And then this one time I was on it and I looked down, and the thing that is holding the staircase together is a zip tie. It's like all the weight on this supporting, like leaning over. I'm just trying to cook barbecue here. Not to fall.
Yeah, that was
so ridiculous.
That was really some wild ass stuff, man. But in a way, I think it set a tone for you to do so many other things. Cause it's like, if I can pull this off, shit, everything else is just cake,
Mm-hmm.
And you've consulted now all over the world, right? You've been out to Russia?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Isn't that correct?
Russia, all the communist countries. Yes. Russia, China.
Attaboy.
I went to Australia. They're not really a communist country, but I've been to England and Ireland. I've been to Mexico. Yeah. We've been all over teaching people barbecue and doing events and stuff. And that's kind of, that's the attitude that we took about that pit, the truck, every other event. We've just done some really ridiculous events that have had us cooking in all kinds of different situations, in all kinds of weather. And so nothing really scares me anymore. We did the Birthright Barbecue Festival in Dallas, and me and Aaron, we're supposed to cook a whole cow. Me and Aaron filling a whole cow on direct heat, like on a cinder block pit, and they delivered it to us, and it was in quarters, and it was frozen. It was a whole deep frozen whole cow. We had to have it ready by the next day. And then a thunderstorm blew in with like lightning and tornadoes. So that's like the benchmark for us. We're like, if we're not cooking a whole frozen cow during a tornado, then we can handle it.
Well, then I guess that leads right into, there's always the discussion when somebody's mentioning Michelin. Is it more stressful working to attain the star, or is it much more difficult just trying to retain it? What are your thoughts on that?
We didn't know that it was an option at first. Like we were focused on Texas Monthly and trying to do well on the list because we knew that would put us in a good position for the business moving forward. And then we heard that Michelin was going to come, but in no reality was I thinking that any barbecue restaurants were going to get a Michelin star. I just didn't think that was going to happen. I thought they were going to give them to the fine dining restaurants. But I was wrong. And, we got very busy very quickly. And I mean, like I said earlier, I think it helped us. Everybody lifted, everybody elevated, everybody got better, got faster, got more communicative. And, by the time that judgment for that was rolling around, which is like right after, we were ready. We were already operating at a pretty high level, I think. And then throughout the entire year after, I mean, all of last year was basically like a blur because we were just trying to keep up. And it was crazy. I mean, my head was obviously spinning at times, but it's the best thing that's ever happened to us for sure.
What's been the most difficult thing to deal with?
That's a good question.
A lot of changes, a lot of changes come your way.
Yeah. I mean, it's really difficult for us to find. It's difficult for everybody in barbecue to find consistency of product and meat, but what we have a standard of sourcing that is like all the meat needs to come from Texas. It needs to be humanely raised and like taken good care of, right? I mean, then those are kind of pretty like not super structured standards, but we really want all the meat to come from Texas and come from people that we know and trust are taking good care of the animals. And just having meat come from Texas, that's like the hardest part to actually get a hold of and source. So looking for enough beef cheeks to, cook that we can serve them every day, but not have too much like barbacoa left over to where we're not like having a whole bunch of barbacoa just in the freezer all the time. And then having enough briskets to where we can serve every day, but also we have to get them from different purveyors because not just one purveyor can get us enough to serve every day of the week. Just like obtaining meat, communicating with our purveyors on the specs, on meat, on the trim. And, they have to deal with things like drought and, high cost of goods and everything else. So, I mean, the difficulties that we're dealing with are not very much different than the difficulties that you guys are dealing with. So, I mean, labor is high. It's luckily the thing that we really don't have to deal with that much anymore is getting people in the door. And I thank God for that every day because like all we got to do is just figure out how to make the numbers work and how to have enough food. And that's, for a very long time, we were like, how do we get people here to the truck? So that's at least like lifted one thing off of our plate.
Speaking of pressure, there's no greater pressure than having your entire meal resting on your shoulders. And the easiest way to take that pressure off is go to goldbelly.com. You can order from Stanley's. You can order from Louis Miller, Pecan Lodge. First order is $20 off. You don't need that stress in your life. Just make it easy. You've got Easter coming up. You've got the Masters coming up. Make it easy on yourself. Goldbelly.com.
I've wondered about as far as labor. You're going to have to have crew that executes at a high level anyway. But now there's some extra pressure. But has there been any problem with trying to have to filter out people who are just getting a job to pad a resume to say that they worked at this place? Or can you kind of flush that out ahead of time and, find people who are there to do it and stick around?
Well, the bigger we get, the more we realize that we have to have structure in place for those decisions. We brought somebody on last year who just kind of didn't end up working out, and they were obviously just at our restaurant because they wanted to work at a Michelin star restaurant. And they didn't get barbecue. They weren't interested in it, and they were just did not belong on the team. But luckily, when we did go to the brick and mortar restaurant, we hired a bunch of people at one time, and most of those people are still there with us. So now those people are 2 years into their job and getting like great at it. They were all very good before, but some of the people who are there now who've been with us for a couple of years are like getting to be very, very good at their jobs. And so it's really helpful to us. They need a little bit less management and direction, and we can kind of like help, tell them to kind of teach the new people. Really tried to nail the company culture on the transition to this restaurant. And I think we did. I think all the people who work with us like it. I like working with everybody there. So,
well, your high retention, I think, doesn't that speak to that they must like what they're doing?
Yeah. I mean, I would think so. I wouldn't stick around at a job I didn't like.
For sure.
But yeah, we did have a little difficulty. I was initially scared when Cole, who was our opening pitmaster, was going to leave. He's in Houston now at Truth Barbecue, and him and his wife Casey are trying to open up their own place. But right around that time, my very good friend Joe Yim was looking for a new position, and we installed him as the pitmaster, and he's been just doing an excellent job. We have a really good, really, really solid management team, and everybody's there just because we want to do a good job, because we want to make good barbecue and serve good barbecue, smiling faces to happy people.
Yeah. That's what we do.
I mean, how are you doing on a personal level? There's a tremendous amount of demand placed on you and the restaurant and a bunch of attention there. And it's very easy when you're in that position for that to be all encompassing, but it's not, at least from personal experience, something that's sustainable for very long if it's your entire focus. And so how has that been? Have you found a way to balance that out?
Just with the quality of people that we have working at the restaurant, and with the length of time that a lot of them have been with us, there's just a lot of trust built up there. So I feel very good about leaving the restaurant in their hands, and I don't necessarily have to be there all the time. I have eliminated most of my jobs at the restaurant, which is good. I really just go around and bust tables and like talk to people now. I'm obviously checking on food quality, and like if something looks dirty or disorganized, I kind of ask them to clean it up. But I really just try to be like an extra pair of hands at the restaurant. And if I have to do something else, I have the freedom to, take a call like this, or to, go have a meeting or whatever, or just spend time with the family.
I feel like
there are times
that's the best way to know what's going on is to be out there busting tables. You get to really see the reality of what's happening. That's my favorite part of my job at the restaurant, is to be out there, have interactions, and then to be able to address something if it needs to be quickly, because that's where it's happening. You're seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many things going on all at one time. If the restaurant is full, like at night, we may be doing obviously barbecue line service. We'll probably be doing a lot of service from the kitchen, which is our Anytime Eats menu, a bunch of burgers and sandwiches. And then we're also probably doing our steak dinner service. And then also at the same time, there's barbecue being cooked. And there's barbecue team, a kitchen team, a barbecue line team, a floor team, a pit team. So like, we have to, I just do laps, at the restaurant, just looking for something wrong, something to do, and if I've done a few laps and I don't have anything to do, then I leave.
So how big is that team in total now?
We have like 70 people working for us. It's a huge team. And, it's kind of subdivided into smaller teams, and they all kind of have their own, kind of sub leaders. And just speaks to how good everybody is, that they don't need that much direction. They understand the standard, the standard of quality of service and of food. So feel very good leaving the restaurant in their hands. The reason we're on this podcast is because I got a book coming out. I'm about to go on a book tour, for like most of the summer and spring. And so making sure that team was installed and very, very set and ready was definitely a goal of mine before putting this book out.
So let's talk about that book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here it is.
Look, New School Barbecue.
Yeah.
Is Daniel Vaughn charging you
Very
royalty
excited.
rights for that name?
No, because
Oh, well, that helps. You bribed him. Good job.
fucking misprint on page 1.
David Vaughn. I was about to say, who's David?
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry.
Nothing's ever perfect, guys.
No, but congratulations on the book.
So let me ask the New School moniker. Is that something that you've really tried to push out there, or is that a label that was put on you that you've just accepted, or how did that come about?
That's something that I really put out into the ether when we were first opening the truck, because I knew that just like saying those words, and that's like the first line of the book, just saying the words New School Barbecue can start a fight in Texas, because people, it's supposed to be this very rigid and structured and unchanging thing. But if anybody has studied barbecue or been around barbecue long enough, you know that it is like, it's pretty fluid. Like there's trends, there's kind of ebbs and flows. There's like meat prices make a big difference, and everything got really kind of crazy in the kind of early 2000s with this big barbecue renaissance. And it's been, I feel like, a constant cycle of change since then. So us kind of coming out and saying the New School Barbecue is like what we're all about. That was kind of important for me to kind of stake our claim as people who kind of just do it a little differently.
How do you define that?
So for me, I define it as, first of all, it's basically a combination of New American and barbecue, right? New American is like focused on local sourcing and kind of global, I would say, influences. It doesn't necessarily have to take from just one kind of ethnic or regional cuisine. And then just kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit of barbecue. We try to stay true to the framework, which in my eyes is meat, from Texas, cooked over native wood that can be hot and fast or low and slow. And then kind of a scoopable picnic style side, and that like barbecue line service. And so those are the rules for us, right? We got to do meat over native wood, or local meat over local wood, and then kind of, picnic style side. And then anything else is up for opinion, or
So in the restaurant, and I've never been there before, but is it counter service? Do you guys have wait staff? How does that work when you've got kind of more your traditional barbecue things, you've got your steak dinners, and you have some of the other things that you're doing?
So we have regular barbecue service Wednesday through Monday. We're only closed Tuesdays. We have that from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekdays, and we stay open till 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturdays. And we sell out of food. We sell out of meats, but not all the meats. So the most popular items like beef cheeks and beef ribs and brisket and our flat iron, they'll get kind of pulled off the menu list. But we'll still have tri-tip and plenty of sausage and whole hog and a whole bunch of other stuff, including our Anytime Eats menu, which is basically a kitchen menu or a bar menu. And that has our burger and has a chopped brisket sandwich and has some other sandwiches and appetizers, tacos, desserts. And then we do some specials from the kitchen back there too. And we try not to run out of those things at all. Because if people, if we don't have whatever you want, then you can still get the burger. You can still get a bunch of other stuff. And then we have the steak dinner service. And I'll say that if you get the Anytime Eats, you can just order that at our bar or our like retail counter, and you'll get a buzzer. And you can sit anywhere. The barbecue line is obviously like line up one at a time. And then the steak dinner service is reservation based, and we do about 5 reservations a night for anywhere 2 to like 8 people. And those are steaks to share. So those are ribeyes and porterhouses that we cut in house that are like 3 inches, like 3 pounds, like massive steaks to share. And we'll pre-select a steak for however many people are coming to the dinner. And then the rest of the menu is up to the diners. They can order our, like typical things that people get is like our arugula salad, our onion rings, the miso glazed and grilled carrot, and then some desserts. And then, when we first started at the restaurant, we were bringing in these whole carcasses, not frozen. And then we were breaking them down, and we had stuff to do with, you know, all the pieces that were not like the nicest pieces and the most expensive. Like we did obviously like chopped beef with the chucks and like the, you know, single little briskets that are coming off those cows. We did ground burgers and sausages with the kind of back legs. We took all like the skirt and the flat meat for like fajita specials. And then we had the best stuff in the middle that we didn't really know what to do with. I didn't want to just, you know, cut a piece of this loin off and then you know, have like some crazy sticker shock price on the menu because our prices are already pretty high. Or like cook a steak and then cut a little piece off and then put it back in the warmer to oxidize. I wanted it to be like a full experience, like presentation. And so for the steak dinners, you know, you'll have your first couple courses, usually like appetizer and like a little bit of barbecue. We save like brisket and cheeks and stuff for the people who come to the steak dinners. And then you'll get a pit tour. You can like go out and kind of see our pits, and we'll explain the process and everything and talk to you about barbecue and show you the wood and the pits. And then the steak has been smoked. So in the morning, we like dry brine it and smoke it to about 125. And then it rests in the warmer until right after the pit tour. Then we grill it and we take it to the table and cut it. So like carving at the table is a lot of fun. Yeah, at any time we've got the barbecue line, the kitchen service, and the steak service, like running 3 restaurants at one time. Kind of crazy.
So jumping back to the book, is that the book's a cookbook, correct?
Yes. The book is a cookbook. It's got 100 recipes in there. I wrote it with Paula Forbes, and very nice photos by Matt Taylor Gross. It's not a photo on that page, but you know, there's a bunch of instruction, a bunch of classic LeRoy and Lewis recipes. We tell you about the foil boat brisket. We got beef cheeks in here. We got a whole chapter on sausages and ratios. There's a whole like vegetable smoking chapter in here. Took a long time, and I'm very proud of it.
So you're essentially talking about some of these extra cuts and teaching people how to cook those things at home, as opposed to just here's how you cook a brisket. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what I was kind of talking about with the philosophy of New School Barbecue is kind of what I try to lay out in the book, right? That it's, you know, you can apply the smoke to almost anything if you just got to think about it in the right way and can connect the dots of, you know, how other things perform similarly. And then just to try to mix it up.
Yeah, I mean, that style of cooking, I think, aligns really well with the home cook. You know, I mean, most people don't have like a huge barbecue pit. You know, they've got a little Weber here, or they've got another charcoal grill over there that they're using, and the smaller cuts, things that cook a little bit faster, you can go back and forth between kind of the slower smoke and a hotter, faster grill and everything like that. So I've definitely got to pick this up for sure. It looks like really interesting.
Yeah, please do. The way that it's broken down is kind of interesting because you have like a big beef recipe. They're like bigger kind of project recipes, and then like a small beef chapter where it's you know, a little bit easier kind of weeknight stuff. And the same thing with pork, you know, bigger kind of project recipes like a whole hog or a bacon ribs, and then kind of easier one-off stuff like a jerk tenderloin or something like that.
So when is the book going to be available? It's not out yet, correct?
Not out quite yet, but it comes out May 12th. So very soon. We'll be doing some events. Yeah. We'll be doing some events coming up in Austin and Dallas, in Houston. So we'll be around Texas and then around some of the rest of the country later in the summer.
You've been keeping Lindsay busy then, haven't you?
Yes. Lindsay's been very busy. I mean, she has all of her own clients and stuff too. So she's just
for sure.
She's just busy all the time, and she's like the best mom in the world. So, yeah.
How is Frankie?
Frankie is incredible. She is 7 years old. She's very into gymnastics. She's growing like a foot a day. She's just so sweet. She loves helping out at the restaurant. My dad, Gary, he works the barbecue line on Saturday mornings. He like wears a cowboy hat. He has a shirt that says barbecue bouncer on it. And you know, gives people the bad news of like it's going to be a long wait or like we're out of this. But he's been a salesman for his whole life, and so he just knows how to talk to people and build relationships, and he's just excellent at it. And on Saturday mornings after gymnastics, Frankie likes to go and help out my dad, like hand out menus and talk to people and stuff. So sometimes she's up there too with him.
That's so fabulous.
Yeah.
The whole family. Well, that's got to help your state of mind too, having the family close, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that my mentals are probably in a best place that they've been in a long, long time, just because I'm not grinding it out there every single hour of every single day. I've always been a big proponent of having a really good team and kind of like giving credit to the people around you. And so, I can't give enough credit to everybody at LeRoy and Lewis. Nathan and Sawyer are like the main ones. They do just an incredible amount of work. Obviously, our pitmaster, Joe, everybody there just kicks ass constantly. I find myself just like having to pinch myself a lot and just being very, very thankful for everybody around me.
Was there a single pivotal moment with the team where you were like, all right, you guys got it, I can start stepping back? Was it kind of a gradual evolution? With volume comes the ability to do that. Like, it's chicken or the egg, right?
Yeah.
You pray forever, like, oh my God, we need the business. We need the business, You're grinding. And then when you finally get there, that's the thing that allows you to be able to step back and reassess. So, was that,
yeah, I mean, I would say that it's more little by little. And it kind of comes to, like, I knew when we opened the restaurant that I was going to go to England and Ireland kind of like later in that year for like a trip for the Big Grill and this other event called Metopia. And I kind of spent the entire year that like getting everybody ready, for me to not be there. And then when I wasn't there, it was okay. And then the kind of next thing we got to get ready for, it's like, all right, now it's the list coming out, or like, and then the next thing we got to get ready for, it's like, there's just like something that is always kind of on the next like couple month horizon that we can like point at and set a goal and to say that, all right, this is what we're working toward. We need to have these things in place by this time. And if we do, then we'll be in good shape, and let's take the steps to get there.
So is that setting you up now that you have this trust in the team? Is this going to present an opportunity for you to be in a creative place now where you can kind of step back and be like, all right, what's next? It's got to be liberating like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, like this year, I'm kind of preparing everybody for the fact that I'm going to be gone longer, I think, than I have ever before, just because of this book tour. It's not going to be all at one time, like a few weekends here and there, but it'll still be busy times, like weekends when I won't be there. And there's still just like little things and little times when it's like a judgment call of whether, or not to fire more burgers or something. And that's going to determine, if the night goes very well or if the night does not go very well. And it's like really trying to train them to kind of like focus in on those little details and make the right decision at the right time.
Is there going to be any cooking on the book tour, or is it strictly just going to be, Q&A and talking about what's going on?
Yeah, I would say much like everything else we do, non-traditional book tour. We're going to have a few stops that are pretty just kind of traditional as far as signing, and like that's it. But most of them are going to be at our friends' restaurants or something that has like a food element to it. We're going to be capturing a bunch of content as we do that too, to post on social media and YouTube and stuff. So really want to take this opportunity to just like, push this as much as we can and get as many eyes on it as possible.
Mm-hmm. Does that include cooking in a fireplace in Ireland?
Oh man, maybe not this year, but I definitely hope I get to do that again. That was so awesome. That was
all right, so yeah, you're in the castle in Ireland, cooking in a fireplace. That sounds insane. So like, what's going on there? What happened?
Well, we went to Ireland for the Big Grill. The Big Grill is like a big barbecue festival in Ireland, and then it's in Dublin, and then I was going to Metopia in the UK like a week later. But we had a few days to kill, so and when I say we, it was myself, it was Brad Robinson, aka Chud's Barbecue, his business partner Nick, and then our very good friend Matt James, who is a private chef but has a lot of really good experience and is a great chef in his own right. And so 4 of us went to Dublin did the big grill. Then we went to Galway, or kind of Western Ireland, because this castle was like a really good deal. It's not that far of a drive, just like straight across. I think it's like just a couple hours straight across Ireland. And then we, checked into this ancient castle. Like the stone walls are like this thick. And it was just a really cool experience. We were able to go into Galway and get hooked up with a butcher. And while we were in Dublin, we got connected with Higgins Butchers too, who is just like one of the best meat cutters in all of Ireland. And so we were able to like take a bunch of meat over there. There was a pond on the property, so we were able to pull out some pike. And they have this massive fireplace, and we just lit it up and started cooking in there, started grilling in there. And it's just one of the coolest experiences that I've had. It was like rainy and dark and cold and windy outside. And we're just sitting in there sipping on the Guinness and some Irish whiskey. And like, it was, I mean, what else do I have to say? It was so awesome.
That sounds incredible.
It was a very good time. Yeah. And then we got hooked up with Rob Walsh, the barbecue writer and multiple James Beard Award winner. He lives in Ireland now, and so the day after that, he like took us on a oyster tour and like took us all around, and we hung out at his place and cooked with him. And he's just a total badass as well. So that's certainly an unforgettable trip.
It's hard to believe barbecue was the avenue by which you lived this life, isn't it?
I know. It's
Isn't
crazy.
the
So
least
insane.
likely of all cuisines to make that happen?
I would think so. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what the heck are we doing? Like off on some like some castle in Ireland, like cooking barbecue. It's kind of crazy. There's not a post oak tree to be found for kilometers.
So what was in the fireplace?
Just like big
Any
steaks and fish and or what wood? Oh, I have no idea what was in there. Probably a Duraflame log.
Trimming some rose bushes.
Yeah. With some resinous conifers, just throwing off a bunch of sap. Who knows?
I get a pit tour one time, and somebody asked me what kind of wood we cooked with, and I told them it was crepe myrtle.
Yeah.
Everybody's notes.
Pressure treated pine.
It's oak, but we finish with crepe myrtle.
Yeah.
My stupidest response ever, and I know you guys get tired of hearing me say it, but they always say, "What kind of wood you use?" Well, morning. It's very plentiful, and it's a renewable resource, and it just a lot of times people get it, and some people they don't. They're just like, "Oh, morning wood." Okay,
renewable resource.
Feel free to use that anytime, everybody.
That's so good. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Justin's writing down. He's taking notes right now.
So tell me,
right.
with the success of the restaurant and the book coming out, have you given any thoughts at all to a second location or maybe another concept of some kind, live fire perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't really ever want to do another LeRoy and Lewis. We learned a lot of lessons. This restaurant's too difficult to run as one place, let alone two. I like that it's a single spot. I'd like to keep it a single spot. I think it's like the kind of magic that we're trying to create there, I think is only kind of able to be harnessed in that one area. But yeah, I have a lot of other ideas that I'd like to explore. I'd like to elevate even more. I'd like to do something, very intimate and small and focused, and like still kind of really trying to push some more boundaries on barbecue. And then I'd really like to do some kind of Mexican barbecue thing, and not just like Tex-Mex barbecue, but like Mexican barbecue thing. Because where I go to, some Mexican restaurants, Tex-Mex restaurants, and they have, carne de libro, and it's picadillo, it's carnitas, it's barbacoa, it's chorizo, and we have some of those things on our menu now. But I think it'd be cool if like a barbecue menu read like taco meats, and they were all like smoked and come on a big tray with all kinds of salsas and tortillas and stuff. So maybe one day.
Well, back to pushing the boundaries of barbecue. What does that look like? It's when we talk to David Vaughn. That's who we talked to, right? David Vaughn.
Yep. That's him. That's the only place in the book it's misspelled. Is right on that first page.
Well, David was telling us that, barbecue is evolving and we all see it's got to go that way. It seems like it's harder to find a place with bad brisket now than it used to be. But to you, what is pushing the boundary of that look like? Is it more weird offcuts, or is it just, I guess, the recipes like you're talking now about different kinds of tacos? What's your thought there? How are you going to push the boundary even more?
Well, the way that I answer, I kind of used to answer this question a couple of years ago. I used to say that it would become more like the craft brewing space, and if you it wasn't that long ago that not every little city had a craft brewery. Now a bunch of little towns have craft breweries, and then the big cities have like niche breweries. They'll have a German brewery, a sour brewery, and all this stuff. But now a lot of those places are closing too.
Yeah.
As far as barbecue goes, I think it'll probably be slightly more nichified as far as the cuisine goes. And then I think we'll see some people playing with the format. Like, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see like a small plates barbecue restaurant, like really kind of a new American thing, like in a larger Texas or non-Texas city. I wouldn't be, you've got Kareem who's doing Egyptian barbecue. That's not like a culture you find a lot of in Texas or Austin, Texas. It's not German or it's not Mexican. So I think you'll start to see those cultures that are not directly linked to Texas still get their feet wet with some barbecue. You've got Smoking Ashes doing Ethiopian. So I think that's the kind of stuff that we'll see.
How mindful are you about the legacy of like old school barbecue? The further you evolve, does that mean you almost lose the legacy in the history, or is it just time that there's going to be people doing the old school thing? But I feel like we need people like you who are going to push, and people might push back on what that legacy is. I mean, it's always going to be ingrained, but I don't know. I know I'm asking a question, but at the same time, I'm kind of answering it out loud while I'm talking. I just, I think it's important, and I certainly appreciate, and I guess everyone else does, that you are pushing the boundary. I think it's important for us to all be able to see that, we can step out. We can do something different. How many people started doing beef cheek as soon as they're like, oh, Evan LeRoy's doing beef cheek. So fucking everybody's now beef cheek is everywhere. But the legacy is obviously important. But do you feel like, I don't know. I don't even know what the question is anymore. I got all wrapped up in my own shit, but
what's your legacy?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. Maybe still to be determined. But I would say that we try to stay rooted in tradition of Texas barbecue. Like, we try to stay rooted in the method. And I think that's more important than anything else, because that's what makes the actual product. The reason they don't cook the same stuff anywhere else is because they don't have the same wood, they don't have the same atmosphere, they don't have the same meat. So I think staying true to the methods of barbecue kind of keeps us rooted in that legacy. And then, that kind of allows us to reach out as far as we can, because we've still got one foot on the base, one toe on the base kind of. As far as our legacy, LeRoy and Lewis, or my own, I don't know. I would like to hopefully write a couple more cookbooks and have a couple more restaurants and, do, I'm not even 40 yet. I'm turning 40 in July. So hopefully there's plenty more time to talk about that. So yeah, we're getting there. I'm definitely feeling it.
It goes very quickly. So you got to decide now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think with your accolades, it gives you a unique freedom that I think a lot of us probably don't have. If I tried to do some crazy shit like that in Tyler, Texas, people would, they'd hate the idea and, probably be like, what are you guys doing? Like, they just want the thing. So is there anything that you've ever done that you feel like people hated the idea, or does it even matter? I mean, you get to kind of do what you want, and that's awesome.
I mean, kind of. like yes and no. Like I would say the only thing I do really miss about the food truck is the kind of flexibility and pliability that it afforded us. Now, if we want to put something new on the menu, it really has to be put through the paces, and we have to make sure we can get enough of whatever it is. We have to have the recipe down solid. The prep team has to know. The kitchen team has to know how to execute it. We have to have enough plates. We have to have enough, just like there's so many different elements to getting something out the door than there used to be, because I used to just be able to make something myself and write it on the menu myself and plate it up right there. And really have to only communicate about it to the person who's standing next to me and like punching in the number. So it's a lot more difficult to put something on the menu now, but at the same time, it makes us really, it's like a system of checks. If it doesn't make it past like one hurdle because it's not feasible or it's too expensive or it just doesn't work for one reason or another, then it won't make it on the menu.
So it's not even a matter of it being on the menu and then you taking it off. Y'all have a process where it may not even make it on there at all before you're like, all right, that didn't work. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, if we have some, you can always tell a new cook is kind of coming in and it's like, hey, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? Well, first of all, we'd have to order something else in new. We'd have to first we can't find any space on the smokers to cook it. So you have to this is the stuff that we already have that we produce as not necessarily waste, but the things that we have. If you can make a dish out of barbacoa or chopped beef or leftover sausage or something like that, that is what I'm interested in, because that's what we have around. That's what's going to make us money and, not have as much waste. And that's where also I think some of the real creativity comes in. You can make something really amazing out of, whatever yesterday's products, then that's even better.
Repurposing.
Evan, besides your restaurants and now the book, what other revenue streams are you pursuing? Are you shipping? You doing delivery service, catering? What else are you doing besides walk-up traffic?
We used to do a lot of catering. Now during the slower seasons, we do a little bit more. We've kind of changed from doing smaller catering operations to we keep raising our minimums, and then the more we raise our minimums and the larger clients we attract, and then those are really, really worth it. So we're not
for sure,
doing smaller catering jobs anymore. We're only doing the really, really big ones that make it worth it for us to take all that food out there and have all the staff out there. That it presents its own challenges in its own way, considering we are pretty much full up on the pits most of the time. So it's if we're doing catering, we gotta steal from yesterday to have that in a couple days at this other catering. So that's makes it difficult. So we've been kind of thinking about do we go back to a commissary? Do we get another pit and then rearrange and reschedule everything that we do for smoking barbecue? Or do we kind of put a storage trailer down there and have some extra storage and prep? We don't have too many extra, I would say revenue streams. We do merchandise, we do okay on that. We have our media kind of arm, which was very active in the food truck, but since we got to the restaurant, it was just really difficult to keep up with. But with the book coming out, we're kind of picking that back up. The biggest one is Mama Fried. So that was our second food truck concept that we opened during the pandemic, and it was supposed to be just French fries with barbacoa and chili and corn dogs, essentially carnival food. And we had that at a bar here called the Armadillo Den. And that's when we discovered that it was, while it's difficult to hire people for barbecue, at least some of the people who you're hiring there have a lot of passion and are very interested in learning the craft. There's not too much craft behind throwing some corn dogs in the fryer. So it's harder to find people. It tastes great, but it's harder to find people who really care about making an excellent corn dog. So we closed that trailer down, but now we do that for ACL, Two Step In, which is a country music festival. We just did it for a Sips and Sounds Fest during South by. So that's really the kind of we have a festival brand so we don't have to cook barbecue at festivals. We just go and do like French fries and stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
So that was a very smart business decision by Nathan and Sawyer, and it like allows us to pay our taxes every year without really having to worry too much about it. So it's very, very, very helpful.
We kind of started with the star talk, and it's a big freaking deal, man. Like, it's not something that is glossed over. I mean, you said that it's you weren't even trying, you didn't even know it was an option, but now it's opened a lot of doors for you. It's a lot of attention. Surely it's a huge motivator for keeping things at a standard, and you know, it feels a certain way now. What happens if you lose the star? Does it matter? Or is it just like, look,
I mean, it would matter to us a lot. I think that the reality would be that a lot more people would talk about it than it would actually change anything in the restaurant. I mean, I can't really imagine that happening right now because I think we're getting even better and better. I think that, well, I'm not sure exactly how long that the deal was between the Michelin Guide and like Travel Texas was, but I heard it was for 3 years. So we'll see what happens after this coming year, if they like re-up or if they just don't do that in Texas anymore. I don't know. I've never heard of that, but I mean, this is kind of different because I'm you know, I was about to say that like every restaurant has a birth, a life, and a death, and you got to be ready and plan for the death. But I'm also sitting here with legacy, like multi-generational restaurateur Wayne Miller. So it's like, you know, you don't always have to prepare for that, but I'm sure that Louis Miller has become something very different throughout the years when you know, different members of your family were there, and then obviously probably even just under your reign, it's probably been a very different restaurant depending on what is happening in the economy and, you know, the local economy. So like things will always change. I hope that we can at least carry this restaurant to the end of our lease, which is 10 years. And who knows? Hopefully I won't be too tired of it by then. Hopefully we'll have paid a bunch of debts by then, and hopefully we'll be making some decent money by then. And all that is in more assurance if we keep a star. So
I mean, what you just said is I think a big reality check for anybody that's thinking about getting into the restaurant business, and especially the barbecue business. You know, here you are at the top of your game with the Michelin star, and there's still doubts in your head about whether or not we can make it through the end of the lease. Yeah. And that's a very real concern for probably any restaurateur out there.
Yeah.
You know,
you never know.
It's a brutal business.
Yeah. You never know what's going to happen. We all learned that just a few years ago, man. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if we lost a star, hopefully it doesn't happen in the next few years. But if we did, hopefully that we will have built a legacy before then to where we wouldn't need it as much.
Evan, I don't think you're going to lose that star. I don't think you're going to lose this fire. I don't think you're going to lose the momentum. Dude, I didn't realize you were that young. I mean, that's amazing. You know, I feel like that I've met you before, but I can't remember. But either way,
yeah,
I'm glad that I got to talk to you today, and I do hope that I get to meet you at some point in time. I'm going to be in Austin soon. Hopefully you're not
come by.
gone for the book tour yet, but
I think we met years ago to like for Red Dirt when we were up there. Actually, the very first Chud box that Brad ever built, the very first direct heat cooker, we took to a Red Dirt event, and that was like our first foray into direct heat barbecue. There's like a whole section about it in the book.
Red Dirt was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
The festivals are a way in which we a long time ago all really had a chance to connect, and you know, it's pretty silly that Red Dirt being in Tyler should have been an opportunity, but for whatever reason, like it almost makes it harder when it's on your home turf. You just get so busy. So,
it's almost like tortoise in the hair.
Exactly. So I hope I get a chance to redo that introduction and talk to you in person.
Yeah, I would love that, man.
So Evan, tell us, where is the book going to be sold? Where can people pick it up when it finally hits the market?
Well, you can currently pre-order it anywhere online. So that includes Amazon, your local book retailer, the Abrams website. Abrams is the publisher. And then when it does come out, you'll be able to get it any of those places. Your local bookseller. We'll obviously have copies for sale in our restaurant.
Yeah.
I think it'll be around. I think we'll have plenty of them out there for people to see.
I'm going to come get a copy either from Book People or from the restaurant. I love Book People.
Yeah, come on over.
It's Book People.
It's great. Yeah, we're doing an event there day after it comes out. A little signing.
Cool. Ooh. What's the date for that?
So the book releases May 12th. The date for the Book People signing is the 13th. And then on the 15th, which is a Friday, we'll be doing a happy hour event at the Yeti flagship.
Guys, we got to try to make it down there for that.
Yeah, make note of that.
Right?
Yeah, I would love if y'all came down.
Incredibly generous with your time today, man. No, it's super busy.
Yeah.
But thanks for making time for us. Congratulations on everything. Looking forward to getting our hands on this book and seeing you in person one day, my friend. Guys, Evan LeRoy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. It's great talking to y'all. I love this show. Keep it up.
Awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Hey,
great to see you.
Thank you.